Hello, and welcome to the Piano Lessons for Parents podcast, the practice edition. My name is Dr. N. Mason Conklin, and I'm here to help you help your child succeed at the piano. In just a few minutes a week, you can learn the basic musical concepts that will help you supervise and evaluate your child's practice time at home, and learn some tricks and tips to help make that practice time the most effective that it can be. On today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about some practice games that can help your child be motivated to repeat sections correctly. And before we go on to that practice game, I want to alert you to an author and a book where I found this practice game. The book is The Practice Revolution by Philip Johnston, and it is a perfect how-to guide to practice the piano. It contains all the faults that piano students might normally slip into and how to combat them, as well as a series of games that make practicing the piano more like conquering a video game or playing a game. It takes a lot of the drudgery and chore out of practice and makes practice a challenge to beat. I'm going to beat this piece. I'm going to work and I'm going to get this piece really well done. Now, a little legal aside here. If you've been reading my show notes, you know that I always include the disclaimer that I've not received any compensation for promoting a book or for providing a link. And that's true for the Practice Revolution, too. At some point in the future, I may become a member of the Amazon affiliate program. And if I were to do that, then anytime you ordered a book by clicking through a link on my site, I would receive a small commission. I've not done that yet. Suffice it to say, I bring these books to your attention because I find the content in them valuable, and I think that they would be helpful to you. So that's the Practice Revolution. All right, on to the practice game I'm going to talk about today. And it's a really simple little game that you can play with your child to help them value the repetition of a section correctly. Remember, the soul of practice is repeating sections correctly. So the first thing you do is you buy a coloring book and some crayons. Yes, I'm serious. A color by number book is actually pretty good for this game, something like this, or just any coloring book that you think your child might be into. I kind of like planes, so I'm going to be coloring a plane today. So you get your tools of coloring, and then you go to the piano. You define a practice section. Practice means repeating sections correctly. And how many parts of your picture you're going to color to satisfy that practice section, and then you move on to the next musical practice section. So, let me just demonstrate this with a piece of music. This is Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. And I'm going to be practicing a little bit from the end of it. And I'm going to define my practice section. I'm going to start right here at rehearsal 34, and I'm going to play 4 measures of it. Just 4 measures of it. And if I get it correct, I get to stop and color in one part of my picture. If I don't get it correct, then I don't get to color anything. I also like the variation where you have to get it right once, at least one time, before you can start coloring. So you can only start coloring on the second time. So here I go. I'm going to start with this section. Let's see, I'm reading the wrong part. This is what I wanted to start with. Let's try that again. That's what had me confused. So I haven't got it right yet. Okay, so that was right. Good. I'm going to go ahead and use my rule that only the second time correct do I get to color. Okay, that was correct. So here I would get to color one part of my picture. So I'm going to take red, and I'm going to just color this little circle here. And I color, and it's fun because I like coloring. And there, I've colored that section. I go back and I repeat it again. Okay, that was correct. So I'm going to take this color. I'm going to color the little dot in the middle. All right. Let's say I need to color 5 sections of my picture before I can go on. I've got 2 sections colored, so I've got 3 more to go. Let's do it. All right, so I get to color 1 more section. I'm going to color this little flap here, and let's do it green. And I color. There we go. Ooh, this is looking good. All right, so far, this is what I have. 2 more to go. Awesome. I'm going to pick black. And I'm going to color one of the engine exhausts black. All right, so that's 4 sections, 1 more to go. That was a mistake. I don't get to color. I have to do it again. Okay, so I'll color this last section. I'm going to pick orange. I'm going to color the guy's hat. So this is what I have so far. Now, I've done my 5 repetitions that have me coloring 5 different sections. I'm going to go on to my next practice section. It starts here at the top. I'm going to go 4 measures. Okay, that's 1 time. I'm going to use my second time only rule. Alright, so I get to color. Now you may be saying to yourself, wow, this seems like a lot of wasted time. Most of the time is not spent at the piano, but spent coloring. It may be a little bit of a trade-off at this point, because, yes, there is some time back into the piano, but it's not so bad, because there's a nice pedagogical function that is served whenever the student comes entirely away from the piano and then has to go back. They have found their hand position once and have played it correctly. They come away from the piano, they color, now they have to do that again. They have to reset correctly. Second, it's easy to do repetitions if you don't move. If you just stay... There's something about that little hesitation in between repetitions that make you refocus and come back to the section that you're playing in such a way that you're actually a little bit more engaged with it than if you just repeated it over and over and over and over and over again. So, let me get another repetition in here. Alright, so I'll color another section. Let me do another engine exhaust. That's 2. Let me do it again. That's 3. Let me color this other blade of the flaps. And again. That's 4. I like red on these wing circles. Let me do that. Let me do it again. That's 5. Let me go ahead and finish coloring in this center circle. And this is how my picture looks now. Now, if your child is really into coloring, what's going to happen is they're going to say, you know, if I repeat it a few more times, I could color just a little bit more of this. And they end up doing a few more repetitions because they're motivated to get something else done. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so. In fact, I'm really wanting to color part of that fuselage, so I'm going to have to do another repetition. Alright, so I'll see. Let's take a darker green. And we'll color this lower section of the fuselage. And there you go. All right, this may seem a little bit silly, but it works. And it's not just coloring pages. If your kid's really into Legos, maybe you get a little Lego project, and they get to put one new piece of the Lego together every time that they've done a successful repetition. It's a little bit of an extrinsic motivation for a musical purpose, but I think we can live with that, don't you? All right, that's it for the practice edition today. Make sure you tune in next week for another edition of the Piano Lessons for Parents podcast. I'll see you then.